Sarah, you've had one idea that you've stuck with for 15 or 18 years with Spanx, and you create new ideas within the one idea. And
I do, which is just a different model. I shared with Jesse, and he knows this. I have other ideas. So I have 99 pages, single space typed of ideas. And I email them to me myself the minute I have them. And it's 99 pages right now, which is just funny. My assistant keeps going, have you run out? Like, can we hit 100 pages? But I end up it's so much more important to me instead of actioning on them instantly. It's more important to me to not lose them. I think an idea is a gift from the universe, and I cannot take for granted that I might forget it. So the second I have it, I email it to myself. I used to keep it in notebooks, but now I do email, and they're there, and then I revisit them, and then they will come out. Like my belly art book had nothing to do with Spanx, and that was an idea that was on that 99 pages, and some of them will knock on the door enough that I'll say I'm going to find the extra time to make them happen.
How many ideas do you think that is on 99 pages? Is that 1,000? Is that 10,000? Is that 500? What is that range, do you think?
I don't know.
I don't know, but it's interesting because we're both entrepreneurs with completely different styles. So Sarah's really good. We're both very ADD. Sarah's very good at staying on one thing, saying no to stuff, monotasking, being single focused. And I like to operate in a completely different style. I need a lot of balls in the air at once. I need to bounce around from one thing to another. It's just the way I operate. I operate better with more balls in the air. So everybody has their own style. And over time you figure out what it is that works the best. But, Sarah's really disciplined. She's very disciplined. And she looks at things through a unique lens. It's always customer first. It's always focused on value. It's always focused on, she goes right to the story and how she can articulate this to the customer. And I'm ready, fire, aim. I'm like, I got to start before anybody else starts, and I'm going to figure it out as I go.
Yeah.
Just different styles.
Yeah. I mean, are you friends with Buffett, Sarah?
Yes.
Isn't he the guy who said the quote, like, successful people and really successful people do things a little bit differently? They say no more than successful people, or something like that.
Yeah. It's funny, when we were talking, his quote came to my mind, but there is a Warren Buffett quote that says, the most successful people in life have one thing in common, their ability to say no.
And you say no a lot.
To many things. I have to. But it doesn't mean that, another style of creating things in the world is any less. It's just, it's interesting. I am very disciplined in what I focus on.
I'm kind of like, I'd probably say I'm in between both of you. Like, really? for me, like, I want to create stuff all the time and launch something quickly and put it out there. But then I'm also like, well, you can't truly build something, an empire and something magical for the long term, if you're just jumping from one thing to the next. Whereas you have been disciplined for decades on building this global brand that just is so inspiring. and both are fun. It's like, but you get to create your creative expression over here, the Jesse style, but you get to create something magical, that stands. So.
Well, it's just, the two ways to look at it is, I also look at Jesse's life as so magical because, because literally I'm like, honey, you became top of the field in rap. He was like on MTV and, had hits in the top whatever. And then he went from that to a jet company and did really well, which is so different than rap music. And then he goes from jets to coconut water and is really successful there. And now, and now he's an author and he's a motivational speaker. So to me, like, that's really fascinating that he's been able. It's very unique to find someone it's not that hard to find people who've jumped from sector to sector to sector. It's hard to find people who've mastered or kind of been top of the game in all those different ones. So I always look at him and think, oh my gosh, that's really makes for a colorful life. Like, I've been plotting along on my own journey, but you're
doing quite fine, sweetie.
But he's got a million stories to tell.
He does have a million stories, but you got it.
When I was starting out in business, my philosophy was say yes to everything, because that's so interesting. Well, it is, because it was laughing at jokes that aren't funny, going to everything. No, listen. It was I had nothing.
Show up to every meeting.
I had to build a network. I had to get out there. I had to be someone that I wanted an invitation to everything. I'm serious, because I didn't have the resources. So for me, I had to say yes to everything. If there was an event, I'm going, because there could be a buyer. There could be someone that a connection. If there was a basketball game, I'm going. I don't know who's going to be in the audience. So it was yes, 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 yes. When you get married and you have kids and you evolve, your system has to evolve with it. So what worked for me when I was 20 years old, I had dinner when I was at 11 o'clock at night in New York City. Now we have dinner at 5:30 at night. As you evolve, your system has to evolve. So I have said, I am starting to say no to things. And, I have a very simple test, Louis, and for friends and for business. I want low aggravation for the highest reward, like everybody else. When I'm young, I'm willing to go high aggravation for high reward. But now that reward isn't worth it. So I want low aggravation. So
I'm curious. Jesse, I'll let you start with this. I'm going to ask you guys both a question. Jesse, what's the thing you're most proud of about Sara that she probably doesn't know about? And I feel like you tell her all the time and you guys talk all the time about everything. But what's the thing that maybe you don't tell her enough, or that you're really proud of that she maybe doesn't think is a big deal, but you do?
The way she uses her success, her wealth and her success is unbelievably inspiring. And not just the philanthropy that she does, and she does a lot of that in behind the scenes that no one knows about, that I know about, and in front of the scenes, but just how she treats her friends and her family and me and her kids. And it's inspiring, man. It's actually unbelievable. So she's very selfless and very, she puts herself second, and that's a great quality. And especially because no one, when you come into wealth or success, no one teaches you how to do it. It's like we weren't born.
There's no model.
My dad owned a plumbing supply house. I was we never talked about anything about that. And she's just intuitively just figured out how to do it. She's been joined the Giving Pledge and all the stuff she's done. It's just unbelievable. And it's not stop.
Where does that come from, Sara, and you to, again, you were selling, I think it was fax machines door to door for 5 or 7 years. Mm-hmm. You didn't have tons of money. And then you became, extremely wealthy with owning this business and building this successful brand for 15 plus years. Where does that generosity come from at such a high level when everyone wants a donation? Everyone wants your time. Everyone wants you to coach them. Everyone wants you to speak, interview you. Everyone wants you. You've got a husband. You've got 4 incredible kids. You've got all your friends, your family. Everyone is expecting more from you. How do you stay humble through all of that?
Gratitude. I'm so anchored in gratitude. I feel grateful that I am a woman in this country, born at the right time. I've talked about that a lot. And I feel that when you stay anchored in gratitude for what you have and what you've been able to accomplish, it can't do anything but keep you humble. I mean, there's no reason to be any different. I really believe that. And I've said it before. I think money just makes you more of who you already were. Mm-hmm. So if you were a jerk, you become a bigger jerk. If you were kind, you become kinder. If you were generous, you become more generous. I can also mention that I've never been doing this for the money, So the money has been a byproduct of following a passion. I did want independence as a woman. So that was important to me. I didn't want to be financially dependent on anyone. But beyond that, it wasn't like, I'm not driven by material success, really. I like experiences and I like, things that can help me spend more time with the people I love. But I think that also made it easier for me not to get completely wholly consumed by the sparkle of it all. Mm-hmm. Because it was never really about the sparkle on like the shiny new car and all of that for me.
Yeah.
I have an inside look into Sara's lifestyle. It's fascinating, as an entrepreneur, watching as a marketer. It's just unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. But her decision-making is so unique. And for most of us, we make decisions based on, as entrepreneurs, ROI, return on investment. And for 99.9% of the listeners, that's the bottom line. ROI is I put this much money in, I get this much money out. She looks at ROI through a completely different lens. It's ROI. It's not really the bottom line. I mean, of course it's factored in. It's experiences. It's how I treat people. Yeah. ROI could be the gift she gives to our kids in the form of cooking dinner every night. You know, her ROI.
Her special pancakes.
No, but if you look at your return on investment across a bigger platform than just what we normally look at, and that's her lens. So I think it's really interesting.
You talk about this, Louis, but there's pillars in life, right? So there's different kinds of success. And so there's monetary success. That's one bucket of your life. You know, there's success in your friendships and your relationships. There's success in how you are and behave in the community and what you're contributing. There's success in, are you healthy and strong? And do you take time to, you know, eat the right things and work out? And so I've kind of always had all of those pillars in my mind also. And I think it's easy for people to get so singularly focused in one pillar, and that makes their whole life off kilter.
I think one more thing I'll add, Liz.
Go ahead, bring it.
I think that's a really,
it's good. I love it.
It's a really good point because, you know, success to me, and everyone has a different definition of success. But when I look at success, it's being good in multiple buckets, like Sara just said. Yeah. Success, like when I was a kid, I remember going into meetings and I would sit and I'd be in awe of these people that had so much wealth that I was trying to do. Actually, you know, I was a young kid, 23, 24, sitting in boardroom meetings. And as I got older, those superheroes, my superheroes, some of them turned out to be unbelievably amazing humans, but others, I started looking at it, it's like, man, you're just rich.
Yeah,
I don't like
the way. Nice person. Yeah.
Right. So success it's being good in multiple buckets, and that's where we put our energy. Yeah. We try to be good parents, and we got plenty of flaws, man. We try to be good parents. We try to be good husbands and wives, good kids. Both of our parents are both alive, so investing in, you know, time with them, and it's exhausting, man, because there's so many buckets as you get older.
This is what I want to ask you about the question about energy. And you know, you have, you know, financial abundance, right? Financial stability, but you still have 4 kids. You still have hundreds or thousands of employees and people counting on you, people asking questions all the time, people wanting from you. And you'd have all the help in the world. You could have all the tutors and nannies and cooks or whatever it may be, but still it consumes so much energy of your time, your thoughts, and your attention. How do you guys manage energy? Because I don't have kids. I've got a passionate Latina, which is a lot of energy I've got to have, but it's like, I've got a small team. You've got a big team. And it's exhausting for me sometimes. So how do you guys manage energy? Like you said,
you have to really think, prioritize, delegate what you can, and let it go and not be too mentally hard on yourself. And as your bubble grows, you invest the time in hiring your weaknesses. So where are your weaknesses, and find the best talent, invest in the talent. And, you know, if you put the right people in place in certain areas, then it will free you up to be able to prioritize your time. And then you have to take the time to do that. Like, even though I have this leader in place, what is the most important thing for me to be focusing on for Spanx? Even though I may or may not have a nanny, what is the most important thing for me to be doing with my children? What's important to me? And I sat down with Jesse and we wrote out like what's important for us to be, what is the quality time that we want to have with our children. And just being intentional about those buckets will really help you figure out energy and how to use it and how to make it go farther.
I would add, I think 3 things. I think we've spoken about this in the past, Louis, many times. You know, I think the most important thing is to really be present and be where your feet are. Yes. So if we're with our kids, we're with our kids. If Sarah's at work, and, you know, I don't want Sara to be guilty or resent me, you know, for when she's at work. When she's at work, she's at work, and it's fine. When she's with the kids, she's with the kids. You got to be where your feet are. So we communicate about that. Today I had to do something for 2 hours. I said, I let her know I need 2 hours alone. She was like, no problem, because I didn't want to feel guilty and I don't want her to resent me. So we communicate that, but you got to be mega present. 2, you go in and out of waves. So like we went on a trip to Poland with 10 friends, brothers, best friends overnight best friends. If I don't speak to the guys for 6 months, I'm not going to beat myself up. The relationship's still there. So you have to trust the seeds and know that that you've planted, and know when it's time for me to jump back into that group of 10, I'm going to be present and everything's going to be, but you can't beat yourself up that your energy is pulling you somewhere else. That time will come back, And 3 is you got to plan. You can't we're not good enough to just wake up and wing it. We plan stuff, man. No, we plan stuff. I plan that I'm going to see my parents a certain amount of times a year. Then I'm going to go on a certain amount of trips, one-on-one trips with my kids. We go away once a quarter. We plan a trip, alone time. We have date night every Wednesday. I might not see Sara every single day, every minute of the day during work, but we know Wednesday nights we're having date night. We know we have our family dinners. We know the weekends is our time. So you have to plan. Otherwise, it's you start to spiral. And when you spiral, it's hard to get out of it.
It's really hard, especially if you're in quarantine. I heard an interview that Oprah did years ago about, I'm going to butcher this, but she essentially said at one point she made a decision in her life to throw a big dinner and bring all of her friends and family who've been asking her for money and stuff for years. Oh. And she threw this big party, huge dinner, threw it the best food, and gave away cash and cars and gifts and said, I'm bringing you all here. I'm giving you the last thing I'm going to give you. Because I assume for years, people just kept asking for more and more, and they were never happy and they're never satisfied. This is the general concept. I might be butchering it. How do you guys manage the expectations of friends, family, people that are just on social media that ask you for things? How do you manage the energy of people getting angry or upset or getting hurt if you don't do something for them when they think you should or could? Do you guys face that at all?
All the time. It's a great question. I mean, first of all, I don't get angry at anyone's reaction. Very time when people ask for something, you're put in a lose-lose situation. I remember my mother told me, when I was growing up, to never lend people money for a lot of different reasons.
You'll be let down.
You'll be let down, and why do I have to pay them back? They don't need the money. Or if you do pay them, there's all kinds of guilt and resentment. So, one way to handle this is you can give people money and just say, this is a gift, not a loan. But it's really case by case. It's really case by case and situational. And, but I'm not going to lie, man, it is challenging. It is challenging.
And how do you know when someone is truly a friend or versus someone who's always reaches out every year for something, monetarily, let's say?
I don't feel like we have that much issue with that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, I personally don't know how you feel about it, but I think, it feels very obvious to us who's a friend and who's maybe someone who's more of an opportunist, but we live our life in such a way that we're not in the situations very often that we're put in these positions. And I stay very true to my core mission, again, with my foundation, which is elevating women and supporting women. So it gives me an opportunity to explain or have my team explain why the funds don't make sense to go there, and that we'd love to support everyone and everything, but you have to pick a lane. And in order to be effective or possibly make an impact in that lane, you have to give yourself permission again to say no to everything else that isn't in that lane. So that's been very helpful.
Yeah. Having that structure and organization and that explanation makes sense. If you're looking for more greatness in your life, make sure to check out this video right here. And also check out our free PDF, The 3 Secrets to Unlock the Power of Your Mind to help you change your life. Download it right here.
Skip a meal, but don't skip reading. Read something, a biography, read something that's a strategy, read something that's going to change your life.